flurries and low near 12. From the Storm Center at Kibble TV, I'm Ethan Robinson.
Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It is a new day. Do you not feel like it is a new day? All right, let's get going.
Doctor of Discernment is on the air. The Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
It's like taking being able to take a breath and, feeling like we're moving in the right direction.
And will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario. This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show this Tuesday, January 21st. Just taking a big breath this morning and a sigh of relief, I think, that Donald Trump is now in the White House. And he was incredibly busy yesterday. It was absolutely incredible to watch him. So we had Inauguration Day. Now, today will be Donald Trump's first full day in office. I think it's going to be very, very interesting, given what Donald Trump has wanted to do and has already done in terms of executive orders and so on. But we had Inauguration Day yesterday. Let's start there. The ceremony was moved indoors due to the temperatures, which remained cold throughout a pretty good part of the country. Donald Trump talked about ushering in the golden age of America, he said. He said it begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. He said and then he went after the Biden-Harris administration. You got the former president, vice president there. So Trump said he went after all the vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government, and said the country has been operating under a radical and corrupt establishment. He said, while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair, we now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home. And he talked about the recent national disasters that we have seen, like, for instance, hurricane damage in North Carolina, wildfires in California. And Trump said yesterday, he said, it's Liberation Day. It's my hope that our most recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. He also I'm trying to look for other key things that he had talked about in his speech. He vowed a new era of national success, he said. So Donald Trump was quite busy, signed a number of executive orders. He pardoned all of the January 6th defendants. This is something Trump had said he would do. So he issued pardons for about 1,500 people charged in connection with the January 6th Capitol attack. He signed a series of executive orders. I think there were 43 that he had signed greater number than that. He revoked 78 of Joe Biden's presidential actions. So 78 were aimed specifically at undoing things that Joe Biden had done, signing quite a series of executive orders. He declared a national emergency at the southern border, trying to stop illegal immigration, then saying that Mexican drug cartels are foreign terrorist organizations. He withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement, to much cheering. Do you happen to catch that? I mean, there were a lot of cheers. I happened to watch as he was signing these executive orders yesterday. And I missed Donald Trump's speech. But I did watch him sign the executive orders. I watched him interacting with the crowd, and then as he left the Capital One Arena, he reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy. I don't think a lot of these things are going to surprise you, because these are all things that he said he would do. Donald Trump has been out there for months talking about this. He ended federal remote work. That's going to require federal employees then to return to the office. He renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. He also reverted the name of Denali to Mount McKinley. You remember it was Barack Obama who had changed the name of Mount McKinley to Denali. Donald Trump changed it back. Also, he withdrew the U.S. from the World Health Organization. He signed the Laken-Riley Act. The Senate had passed it, and Trump signed it, the Laken-Riley Act. So just a whole measure of things right out of the gate that Donald Trump has done. And these are all things that he said he would do. These are things that he campaigned on. It was pretty incredible to watch some of this. So he rescinded again 78 orders that President Joe Biden had signed. He issued an order restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. Slammed the Biden administration for having trampled on free speech rights by censoring speech on online platforms. I think we saw a lot of that. You and I have talked about that quite a little bit over the course of the Biden administration. They also brought pressure on third parties like social media companies to moderate, deplatform, suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. And so Trump's saying that's all over. The weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration, as we've seen, he said. He granted pardons to, again, some 1,500 January 6ers, which, again, is any of this a surprise? I don't think so. You've been paying attention. Donald Trump has been talking about this. A lot of these things are things that got Donald Trump elected. He signed an executive order ending birthright citizenship. Now, that one was immediately challenged, but he's ending birthright citizenship. So he also designated the Mexican drug cartels, human smuggling groups as foreign terrorist organizations, signed an order guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion, and again changed the name of Denali back to Mount McKinley, the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, he said. He also made it very, very clear. He said there will be no more DEI spending in the federal government. And then he said he would defend women's rights and protect freedom of conscience by using clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biologically female, men are biologically male. And that is sure. So he's saying there are two sexes. There are only two sexes, male and female. And that's the way the federal government then is going to treat folks. You are either male or female. See, so much of this garbage that I think that the American society has gotten lost in. So also, Marco Rubio received the America First Policy Directive. Marco Rubio, by the way, was confirmed yesterday, and that he was unanimously confirmed as Secretary of State. I don't think that's a surprise. Pretty clear that I think Marco Rubio would be the first one that would be the first of Donald Trump's cabinet picks that would be approved that was an easy selection, I think, for many. So he was unanimously confirmed as the 72nd Secretary of State. So that's Donald Trump's first cabinet confirmation has already taken place. And again, I think Pete Hegseth, if I caught it correctly, during America in the Morning, Pete Hegseth is due sometime this week. The vote is in the Senate. So that should happen this week, that we'll see the vote on his confirmation. Not likely to be unanimous, but I think, we'll see what happens. So Donald Trump really taking a lot of action on his first day in office. Signing executive orders on the federal workforce, free speech. And he did all of this right at Capitol. Want to read it as I watch this. Because on one side of the stage, they had the, presidential podium with the seal and the microphone. On the other side of the stage was a desk where Donald Trump had sat down, and they put all of these, executive orders in front of him, and then he signed them and held up each one, show a signature, hold it up to the crowd. And there were a lot of cheers all the way around. So he signed orders aimed at the federal government workforce, targeting some of Joe Biden's executive orders, trying to undo those. He signed an order to implement a regulatory freeze that aims to prevent bureaucrats from issuing any more regulations until the Trump administration has full control of the federal government. And I heard this. Someone in the crowd goes, he's signing, and the crowd noise really, they were pretty silent and respectful as he's doing this. So he had an aide who would present him with each one and speak into the microphone and say what it is the president is signing. He would explain it, and he would hand it to Trump, and Trump listening as to what he was signing. And I was, it kind of caught my attention because Trump was listening to everything he said about what the order was that he was signing before he actually signed it. And at one point, again, there were moments where, the crowd there was silence. The crowd noise would die down. Donald Trump passed out a few pens, and somebody in the midst of this, "Sir, can I have a pen?" Somebody shouts. So Trump, when he was all done, he had used all these various pens. He had a set of pens right beside him. So he would use a different one as he was signing all of these orders. So then he pitched them out into the crowd. It was pretty wild. There was a lot of enthusiasm in amongst the crowd who was watching Trump. So he was holding up the orders after he signed them. He signed a federal government hiring freeze with an exception for military hiring. And he said, "Could you imagine Biden doing this?" "I don't think so," Trump said. "No, I don't think so either, Mr. President." Feels good to be able to say that again, doesn't it, Mr. President, in referring to Donald Trump. Trump said most of those bureaucrats are getting fired. They're gone, he said. He said the order will issue a temporary hiring freeze to ensure they hire competent people who are faithful to the American public. So he signed a separate order directing federal workers to return to the office. And Trump, along with Elon Musk, have said, and the Department of Government Efficiency have said that requiring them to return to work in person would be one way potentially to thin out the workforce. So already there are legal challenges now, and that is hardly a surprise. But what is, it's really kind of refreshing that all of these responses to Trump, this is really, it's all the left has had. This is the only tool that they've got available to them, the left. Because politically, they have just lost. They've lost control of the House. They've lost control of the Senate. They lost the presidency. So the left in the United States is just losing time after time after time. And watching them rush to file these lawsuits this is all they got left to try to challenge Donald Trump. And I've got to wonder, I think, given the way that Donald Trump has been received by the American people, when you saw this even yesterday, you know, the groups that were going to be out and were protesting the inauguration of the president, and it was a pittance of people. I mean, of people. Literally, I don't know how many people they had, but it was a drop in the bucket compared to crowds that were there to oppose Trump the first time that he was, became president. So I don't know. You were just seeing the strength of the left. Again, not that they're certainly trying to be busy. They're filing lawsuits and so on. But in terms of numbers of people who are out and supporting them, I mean, how seriously do you listen to a lot of this? To me, it's just noise. I mean, it's just noise. It's happening. It's underway. There are a lot of people out there who are screaming, and I'm glad to see that serious people are back in charge, right? You've got serious people who are back in charge. Whether you agree or disagree with the actions that they're taking, but they're serious. And it's like playtime is over. And that's what I find so refreshing. We also had Joe Biden on his way literally out the door yesterday as Donald Trump, before Trump was sworn in, Trump is out there and he's speaking. Trump hasn't been sworn in yet. Joe Biden pardons his siblings just minutes before leaving office, literally minutes before leaving office. So the pardon applies to James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, Francis Biden, the White House announced, and the president arguing. And I find this absolutely laughable, as do others, as I was, listening to the political reaction to what Joe Biden did. It's laughable. It's an absolute joke. But Joe says that his family could be subject to politically motivated investigations now after he leaves office. He said, I believe in the rule of law, and I am optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But baseless and politically motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives, safety, and financial security of targeted individuals and their families. And I thought, well, isn't it too bad the president didn't feel this way when he was going after Donald Trump and those associated with Donald Trump? What a laugh. I mean, I am eager for the day when Joe Biden becomes, for average Americans, nothing but a bad memory. Because this guy, honestly, and I said this yesterday, I believe he's the worst president in my lifetime. He is the absolute worst. The thing about like Barack Obama, I think we have seen a number of things and steps that Obama took during the time he was president that Joe Biden tried to further hit those kinds of goals. But Obama was smart. I mean, whatever you say about Barack Obama, the man is intelligent in the way that he did things. Joe Biden, I just think, absolutely, just an absolute liar. I think we have seen that with the congressional investigations and the things that he has done and said. And no wonder he is giving pardons to, half of his family. So, in doing it just minutes before leaving office, literally on his way out the door as he does this. And folks were infuriated on my Facebook page yesterday. Wow. I mean, the number of people who were responding to this, and I had kind of a tumultuous day at the office yesterday. And so I sat down at my computer in my office just before leaving work, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh. So I posted that on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm sorry to be so negative, because honestly, as I look at yesterday, there were just an incredible number of things to be positive about Donald Trump and the things that he's doing. But Joe Biden, it's just like, do not let the door hit you on the way out. I was really concerned, and I know some of you were as too. It's a common comment I saw on Facebook. Reactions from folks who were concerned what Joe Biden would do, and in his final hours. So he is now out. Donald Trump is no longer the president-elect. He is actually the president this morning. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Got a lot more coming up. I'll take a look at stories that are trending this morning. We'll touch on a variety of different things for you. A lot of it is news of the inauguration yesterday. Well, it's another clear and cold day. Right now, 11 below. It feels like 27 below at Kello.
Camp and Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires. They give you more tires.
Yeah, it's going to be cold today, but in a lot of ways, I feel warmer than I have certainly in the last 4 years. I hope you do too.
Are you tired of chronic pain, fatigue, and
some of these lawsuits being filed, George Soros lawsuits? That's another guy who's got to go.
Fibromyalgia control your life. Visit MidwestHyperbarics.com.
Bill Zortman here. Kello, it's your agribusiness show, inviting you to the 52nd Annual Iowa Pork Congress in Des Moines, January 22nd and 23rd. Join thousands of...
Do you feel like it's the golden age of America with Trump's swearing in yesterday? I think we'll talk about that this morning. I feel very much that way. More optimistic. Optimism is the word you keep hearing from a lot of people. And I prefer to be optimistic anyway, generally. That's how I hope to be. Not always. Some days I get frustrated, I think. Human nature. But seeing Donald Trump make good on promises that he made and doing it immediately, doing it in front of everybody, signing those executive orders, doing it in front of the crowd at Capital One Arena, that was... And again, I watched most of that. I was sorry to miss Donald Trump's speech yesterday. I had a pretty full day here at the office, so I missed most of it. I caught just a few minutes of, his closing, because Clay and Buck were carrying it live during their show yesterday. So I caught a few minutes of it, but I need to sit down and watch the video. That's something I should do today. All right, here we go.
A few clouds around, but moderating temperatures today. We'll reach near 19 this afternoon. The south wind 15 to 30 miles per hour. Not as cold tonight, mostly cloudy. Some flurries are possible, low near 12. Tomorrow, a little bit milder with a high around 30. Northwest winds at 50.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, clear and cold. 11 below. It feels like 27 below. We'll check in with Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Also, a look at trending stories coming up.
You see, Donald Trump's second term as president kicked off with a pardon for January 6th Capitol rioters.
We're going to release our great hostages that didn't do, for the most part, they didn't do stuff wrong.
He also signed dozens of executive orders.
Reversing 78 actions that the previous administration had done. Now, those include executive orders and actions closing the U.S. border, reversing electric vehicle mandates, making lowering costs for the American people a directive for all government agencies.
That's Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. The Senate confirming Secretary of State nominee Marco Rubio unanimously yesterday.
We'll have a clear mission at the State Department, and we've got one of the most talented federal workforces in all our government to do it, so I'm excited about it.
There will be confirmation hearings today for Trump's pick to lead the Veterans Affairs and Treasury Departments. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. He's been in prison for 48 years for the murder of 2 FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation, and now he's being released. Yesterday, outgoing President Joe Biden commuted the prison sentence of American Indian activist Leonard Peltier. Peltier's conviction has been upheld by 22 federal judges over the years. Now 80 years old, Peltier will serve out the remainder of his life sentence in home confinement. The Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs voted 13-2 in favor of Governor Kristi Noem assuming the role of Secretary of Homeland Security. The vote was cast during Trump's swearing-in ceremony yesterday. Noem's confirmation now goes before the full Senate for a vote later this week. Nearly 40% of South Dakota child care programs have fewer kids enrolled than they can handle. That's according to the recent South Dakota Child Care Task Force report. State Senator Tim Reed of Brookings heads this task force. He knows
almost all these stories that are trending this morning are from Donald Trump's inauguration.
We were not able to have the desired enrollment was they just didn't have the workforce. And so we need to be able to increase what we're paying at the child care assistance level. And I think it's going to have to increase other levels too, but we need to start there just to make sure that we can keep those employees.
Federal child care and development block grants help low-income families afford care.
And then you have the Bidens, inviting Trump and the Trumps belonging in Donald. They're into the White House to have tea, and Biden's out there smiling, knowing the whole time that as soon as they leave, he's going to be pardoning his family. Oh, it's just, what? I mean, seriously. I'm going to withhold any further comments, but it does not speak well of Joe Biden's character.
From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Improving temperatures today. Sioux Falls area, we're going to slowly climb and reach 19 degrees by late in the afternoon and a south wind at 15 to 30, so that will feel cold in the transition. Forecast tonight, not as cold, mostly cloudy skies, some patchy flurries and a low near 12. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Controversy and conversation go hand in hand on Kello. News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com.
Remember the November drone hysteria? Newscast after newscast featured wide-eyed panicked New Jersey residents describing giant drones hovering over their homes at night. But now, all those news stories have disappeared. What happened? I'm Kim Commando for ExpressVPN. Get 4 extra months free at expressvpn.com/Kim. FAA investigators with decades of experience will tell you that the average person cannot determine an accurate altitude or the actual size of anything they see in the sky. They have nothing to reference. Nighttime makes things even more difficult. Panicked residents claim drones the size of school buses were seen every night, but a drone the size of a school bus would be bigger and noisier than any police helicopter, and no one ever produced videos or photographs to back it all up. So what were they? Hobby drones, lots of them. You can look at this as perhaps the biggest practical joke played on the most people ever. Stay tech ahead with my newsletter. Sign up at getkim.com.
Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like leaving your keys in your car while you run into the gas station.
you're probably fine. But what if you come back to see someone driving off with your car? Here's the thing, your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. And every time you connect to an unencrypted network at a cafe, hotel, or airport, any hacker on the same network can gain access to your personal data unless you use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Just fire up the app and click one button to get protected. ExpressVPN works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure on the go. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/Kim. That's expressvpn.com/Kim to get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Callow News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
The best way to describe Farmers Union is his family. South Dakota Farmers Union is run by producers like myself. People can really get involved in and go somewhere with it and get things accomplished.
It put me in places that I didn't have access to before, and it put me in front of people that I never would have had a chance to be in front of.
Join us in having your voice be heard.
Join us at
It's tax time, and if you need help, call Nest Tax and Bookkeeping Service, voted your local best for 19 years in a row. Nest Tax is locally owned and professionally staffed with enrolled agents and CPAs who are ready to put their knowledge to work for you. Nest Tax is open extended hours and weekends at 2 convenient Sioux Falls locations to serve you. Think you might owe? Figure out how much. You can still file now and pay the IRS by April 15th. Nest Tax could find a way for you to owe less, or maybe not even have to pay Uncle Sam at all. The IRS says don't paper file or send in checks. Go to Nest Tax to e-file your return and use direct deposit or direct debit. Call Nest Tax today or schedule with them online at nesttax.com. That's nesttax.com. You're more than just a number at Nest. Locally owned, locally known, locally the best.
Some days winter in Sioux Falls can be pretty.
And some days winter can be pretty ugly.
Yeah, no kidding.
With up-to-the-minute forecast.
Cold.
Snowman weather, snowstorm weather, or just no way you should drive today weather.
Callow News Talk 1320 107.
6:38, clear and cold. It's 12 below. Feels like 24 below this morning. Yikes. It's been a cold couple of days. The good news is warmer temperatures are on the way, especially as we head into next week. So it'll be significantly warmer coming up this weekend, and then in the beginning of next week, even warmer still, as we climb out of some of these sub-zero temperatures.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
These are stories trending this morning. Donald Trump being sworn in yesterday as the 47th president of the United States. One of the very few to, he was the 45th, now the 47th. So marked his return to the Oval Office with the promise to restore America to a golden age. So he took his oath of office for the second time and talked about a revolution of common sense. He said, I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. He said, my message to Americans is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization, he said. It was pretty uplifting what I had happened to catch from his speech yesterday. He talked about America's decline being over. Again, the new golden age of America. So Donald Trump being sworn in yesterday. And as part of that, Carrie Underwood performed America the Beautiful. And she had to sing a cappella. There was an issue with the band that was set to play with her. And I saw some other stories that apparently afterwards she was, now keep in mind, initially they were going to be outdoors. They moved this thing indoors. So she didn't have, Carrie Underwood did not perform. There was no stage for her to perform on, right? And then, the band wasn't there. Now, again, I think a lot of that was due to they had to move this indoors really kind of at the last minute that was announced. And so, but I honestly, I thought it was beautiful. I happened to catch it, and I thought she invited the crowd then to sing along with her. And I thought it was great. Reports again are saying some that she apparently was not happy with the situation. So we had Donald Trump yesterday signing dozens of executive orders. A lot of those I've already laid out for you. Trump said, with these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. I love that as a longtime proponent of common sense. Trump also, now, some of the executive orders he signed at Capital One Arena, and then he went to the White House and signed a bunch more. So he did not sign all of these executive orders in front of the crowd. A number of them he did. And then he went back to the White House and signed more. So it was a pretty exhaustive day for Donald Trump. Not even his first day, not even his first full day as president. That will be today. So, I'm interested in what other people are saying here. Fox News quotes a veteran Republican strategist who said, it's just pure Trump. He's the first president in a new connected world in which you have to govern from the outside in. You have to mount support and bring the people with you. Absolutely no question. That's what Donald Trump has done. Trump making good on a lot of his promises, signed an order ending birthright citizenship for children of illegal migrants. That is already being facing challenges in court. Trump said, and I'm curious, how you feel about that. The birthright citizenship certainly would be something for us to discuss. He said, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted. We will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release, and I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. This is what strength looks like to those on the left. I mean, this is what strength looks like. So Donald Trump also pardoning all of the January 6th defendants, ordering their release from prison, of some at least. He said the Attorney General should ensure all January 6th defendants who are currently held in prison are released immediately. Dismiss all pending indictments against individuals for their conduct related to January 6th. So more than 1,500 people have faced charges for their roles in the attack on the Capitol. Donald Trump also signing an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. Also changed the name of Denali back to Mount McKinley. That was changed by Barack Obama when he was president. Donald Trump now changing it back. See, I think this is a different Donald Trump than we saw the first time around. I mean, this is a much different Donald Trump. Donald Trump also shut down the CBP One app that was introduced by Joe Biden to help people who were migrant arrivals, then those who were, again, arriving in the country illegally. You had this CBP One app, and Donald Trump shut it down. He's ending it. So there's a border app called CBP One that has allowed nearly 1 million people to legally enter the United States with eligibility to work. And Donald Trump shut it down within, his first few minutes. He unplugged that. So that's done. And then I was, seeing some of the reaction. Again, one of the things that I think, what Joe Biden had done was with those kinds of actions and what the Democrats have done, not just Joe Biden, but all the Democrat Party done, is that build the hopes up of these people in doing these things, not playing by the rules, just get into the country any way you can, and we're going to help you get there. And now the incredible disappointment. And I saw photos yesterday of tears, and they're at the closure of the app. And I understand that. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm heartless, that I don't have any feelings for these folks. I absolutely do. But you want to come into the country, do it legally. Do it legally. What the Biden administration had been doing was, we'll help facilitate you coming into the country, and not playing by the rules, trying to make you legal after the fact. It's just not the way to govern. So Donald Trump also overseeing his swearing ceremony was moved indoors, but he followed the inaugural playbook with a formal review of military troops. So it's an inspection of troops and a traditional ceremony that occurs generally on the steps of the Capitol, but it was forced inside by the cold temperatures. So Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were there. They were on a makeshift stage with a red carpet. And then you've got a number of people who are, been congratulating Donald Trump. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, congratulated Trump. Other stories trending this morning. The Bidens bringing Donald and Melania Trump to the White House for tea before the inauguration. Joe Biden, welcome home, the president said, or the former president said to Donald Trump. So Joe Biden says, welcome home. And then after Donald Trump leaves the White House and is on his way then to take the oath and all of that, at the very last minute, Joe Biden pardons several members of his own family, including his brother and sister, literally in his final minutes in office. This is what Joe Biden did. So he issued preemptive pardons to James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, and Francis Biden. And he said the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Well, really, how are you going to take it? How are you taking those pardons? Not well, based on some of the reactions. Because I posted this story yesterday on Facebook as I saw it. And this, I don't know, this was about 1 o'clock maybe yesterday. around that time yesterday afternoon. I saw this, and most folks were furious. They were mad. They're angry about it. Also, Joe Biden commuting the sentence for Leonard Peltier. He has commuted his sentence, and he did that just moments before leaving office. And Leonard Peltier then will serve his remaining days at home, under home supervision. Because how old is Peltier at this point? He was convicted in 1975. Also, Donald Trump's national security advisor, or at least his pick, Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, he retired from Congress yesterday to serve as Donald Trump's national security advisor. And that was expected. He announced it about an hour before Trump was sworn in as president. So Waltz had confirmed to Fox his plans to resign on Inauguration Day prior to Trump's inaugural ceremony, which he did. She did about an hour before. Donald Trump has already been sued over Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. It took less than 10 minutes into his new administration for Donald Trump to face his first lawsuit. I think this is really expected, because this is the left shrieking and kicking their arms and legs after they got their asses kicked during the election. There's really no other way to put it. So you have Public Citizen, the American Federation of Government Employees, left-wing nonprofit called State Democracy Defenders Fund. Well, they sued Trump and his administration over his plans to launch the Department of Government Efficiency under Elon Musk. And of course, the New York Times hailing this. And Newsbusters says one of these groups that's behind this, they're funded by George Soros. That's where the money's coming from, George Soros. So I don't think it's any big surprise. That's really all those on the left have available to them. Democrats have been defeated. They no longer control the House, the Senate, the presidency. Democrats have been defeated. So all they've got left is, these kinds of lawsuits. I expect we'll see more. Also, Senator Marco Rubio was confirmed unanimously yesterday to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State. Marks him the first member of Trump's cabinet. And it was a quick vote, 99-0. So it followed shortly after Rubio had received unanimous support from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. That was kind of expected. And again, I think there is the vote for Pete Hegseth will be coming up likely this week. So we may see that happen later this week. And I expect that one will be a bit bumpier. Marco Rubio is very well respected, I think, by members of Congress. Also, among the congratulations coming into Donald Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin congratulated Trump, and this was actually ahead of his swearing in. He said in his televised comments, "We hear the statements from Trump and members of his team about their desire to restore direct contact with Russia, which was halted through no fault of ours by the outgoing administration. We also hear his statements about the need to do everything to prevent World War III. We certainly welcome such an approach and congratulate the U.S. president-elect on taking office." Putin said. That story's trending this morning. Also, a Border Patrol agent been fatally shot in the neck just hours after Donald Trump's inauguration. This was an agent conducting a traffic stop on I-91, and the shooter, who officials say was a visa overstay, was also reportedly killed. So I'm trying to look for details on this rather than what Trump is, it was said. Yeah, a lot of this is just. So this story doesn't have additional details on but this Border Patrol agent fatally shot literally just after Donald Trump was signing those executive orders is when this occurred. Also, Melania, the First Lady, is following Donald Trump and launching her own meme coin ahead of Inauguration Day. I'm just seeing that. I hadn't realized that. I knew Donald Trump had recently launched one. She's doing the same. So, also trending this morning, the acting director of the FBI retired yesterday. He announced his retirement yesterday, shortly before Donald Trump then was sworn in. It was expected that he would serve in the role until Kash Patel received Senate confirmation, but he's resigned, and that's caused some changes. And that's a look at the stories that are trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show, even on cold days like today. Clear and cold, 12 below. It feels like 24 below at Kello. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you again at 9:30 for the fourth hour. At least I hope you'll return. So you take care. Have a wonderful Tuesday. Again, and keep that smile on your face because it's a great day in America. Take care.
Options for juniors, seniors, and everyone in between. Find the perfect pass for you and your family.